Hi, my name is Shelby and welcome to BookShelbs, a channel where I'm excited to talk to you all about books. I have posted a few videos on this YouTube channel already, but I don't think the time has expired for me to add my contribution to the BookTube Newbie Tag. For those of you who have been here before, you might have noticed that I've been away for a while, and I thought I would give you a quick update as to why I've been a little bit busy getting married, which was such a wonderful time, obviously. Here is the final ring combination. Very exciting. My husband and I have been engaged for a little under 2 years. We have sort of a big traditional wedding planned here in Chicago in the fall, but I have a grandmother who is sick and likely won't be able to travel for that event. So we decided to kind of bring our wedding celebration to her. So in April, we booked a little A-frame cabin down in Texas where she lives and got married in the backyard right along the lakefront. It was beautiful and peaceful and intimate. Everything I think we really hoped it would be. It was just our parents and our siblings and my living grandparents there. What to tell you, I mean, here's what I looked like. I really enjoyed getting to wear something non-traditional, given that it was kind of like only part one of our wedding celebration. And my wedding suit was sort of an homage to what my mom wore for her rehearsal dinner, which was this like fantastic teal suit from the 90s, which I loved, but she didn't have that suit still, so I had to have one made for me. Anyways, what else to tell you? It was beautiful. It was intimate. It was very peaceful and laid back, very flexible. I really got everything I hoped for out of that day's celebration. We had a sort of short ceremony beneath the canopy of trees. We shared tea at the lakefront, and then we had sort of a Texas barbecue feast. So that took up a lot of my time. And of course, I'm still planning our actual wedding in the fall. And following our little ceremony this April, we decided to take about a week away and celebrate with a little buddy moon, which was a vacation we took with a group of our friends to the national parks in Utah. We did 3 of them. It was Zion, Bryce Canyon, and Capitol Reef, all of which were beautiful and involved a great deal of hiking. So I've been very busy. My life feels a little chaotic still. I feel like we're very much still adjusting to like life as normal again. Our house is a mess. I feel like my work inbox is a mess, and I'm pretty behind on all the content I want to film here. But anyways, that's just a little brief on what I've been up to. And I will also say I did already record this video with 0 audio. My microphone was not turned on. So I'm going to try to get through this whole tag again without forgetting anything, under the impression that I'm repeating myself, because I am repeating myself. But that's very much a newbie problem. So I can't say it's unexpected. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, that preamble and background for those of you who happen to have seen a video before, let's jump into my BookTube Newbie Tag. Question number 1 is, why did I start this YouTube channel? I was just a massive bookworm when I was a kid. I loved reading more than anything and was constantly doing it. It was basically my only pastime. But I think like a lot of people, I really fell out of the habit of reading when I went away to school. I picked reading back up as an adult just a few years ago. It was 2020, so I was in grad school, living in a city I'd never been in before, and through a pandemic, which meant that I had a lot of free time and a lot of reason to kind of want to escape into some other world. And when I did start to pick reading back up again, I was kind of a little bit lost as to where to start. I was so out of the loop of series that I cared about and authors who I loved who were like still writing middle grade, but I was an adult now. All of that is to say that I picked reading back up as an adult because I found booktubers who were talking about books that really excited me and made me feel like I wanted to start reading again. And as I did start to read again, I got like super deep into the BookTube community. I was constantly consuming content that went alongside the stuff I was reading and really found a lot of sense of community. Just hearing other people talk about and really like gush about books that I loved because they loved them too. So I have been consuming that content for a while now and really wanted to become, I think, a bit more of an active participant in the community. I've got lots of thoughts and opinions on all of these books that I'm reading and want to be a part of that discussion. I also need to find other people to talk about my books to because my husband is probably tired of hearing me talk about them just to him. So I'm hoping that this can feel a little bit like an online book club. You know, I want to know what you're thinking about and enjoying in reading as well. Okay, question number 2 is, what are fun and unique things you'll contribute to BookTube? And for this, I feel like I'm pretty run-of-the-mill. Like, the content I want to create is a lot like the content I consume. I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, and I'm looking to talk mostly about that stuff. That being said, I do work in the sort of anti-gender-based violence field, which means that a lot of the nonfiction I read is really centered on like feminist themes and experiences of like relationship violence, reproductive health, all that kind of stuff. And I think that means that when we talk about the nonfiction books I'm reading, there might be some lesser known titles for people to be introduced to. Number 3, what are you most excited about for your channel? I'm honestly really excited about getting a better understanding of what goes into making BookTube videos, like filming and editing. Thinking about structuring videos is something that I'm really interested to understand more from a behind the scenes perspective. And those are definitely skills I'm hoping to grow as I work on this new hobby. So I'm looking forward to feeling like I can watch a video that somebody else made and think about like all the considerations that had to go into that, kind of appreciating it from a new perspective. I'm also just really jazzed to have other people to talk to about the books that I love. Like I said, I'm not a part of any sort of like IRL book clubs. So I'm really excited to connect with people who love the books that I love. Number 4 is, why do I love reading? I think for me, it's mostly just about enjoying the experience of being like whisked away into another world, like fully immersed into the magic and whimsy and atmosphere of a story. But I also think that reading has such an incredible power to like expose you to perspectives that you wouldn't otherwise get in your day-to-day life. For example, I grew up in a very small town in a very like a rural area, and that meant that a lot of the perspectives I was exposed to in the books that I read were perspectives I would never be introduced to otherwise, just based on the circumstances of my geography and my community. So I think that's a really powerful part of reading and writing. And I think it's honestly like one of the strongest tools that we have to build empathy for people who are different than us, is to have that opportunity to really be plopped into their shoes and imagine moving through the world as somebody else with different circumstances, different tools, different values. Number 5 is, what book or series got you into reading? When I was a kid, I read all the time. There were tons of series that I loved. But I think like when I imagine my younger reading self, I think about the sort of peak of YA dystopian fiction in like the mid 2010s. I read so many of those dystopian stories when I was in middle and high school. Books like Hunger Games and Divergent were some of my absolute favorites. As an adult who got back into reading, some of the books that I think really like facilitated that jump back into this space were Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab and The Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. I think both of those series gave me that same feeling that I had as a kid who loved fantasy stories. Just this incredible world building, really interesting characters. They're both great character studies. And because they were series, there was this sort of propulsiveness. Like, it wasn't just reading one book and being like, oh, that was good. It was, oh my gosh, there's a cliffhanger. I have to read the next one. And that feeling of like gobbling up books again. Both of those books I picked up because I was looking for where to start and I turned to BookTube. So it's fun to kind of be able to be like, yeah, that was my start as an adult reading again, was hearing about the books that people loved here on BookTube. I'm terribly distracted. There's all these fire trucks on my street and now the police are here. Somebody's car is smoking. Anyway, number 6 is, what challenges do you think you have to overcome? And I think for me, this is primarily just like building the habit and the muscle of filming and editing videos to post on a regular schedule. That's just, going to require me to carve out time for this new hobby. Outside of that, I think it is an art form to critique books well, especially if it's a book that you dislike so much that you decide not to finish it. For example, I recently decided to DNF a book that I was so excited about. I was so disappointed. It was A Tempest of Tea, which was one of my most highly anticipated releases of this year. And I got like maybe halfway through it and just felt like I was really not connecting with the story. I struggled to understand what was going on a lot of the time. And I was just like baffled by my indifference about the characters. And I just noticed that I would think about, okay, what book could I put on right now while I'm doing chores? And the thought of putting that on made me groan. I was like, okay, that is reason enough to stop reading this book. But I don't know how much I want to talk about not liking it because I didn't finish it, right? I don't know if I gave it a fully fair shot. Now, having said that, I think that's a totally reasonable approach to putting down books, is if you don't feel excited about them, to not finish them. So I just mean to say that, I think talking about that well and with, an open mind. All that being said, I think critique is an art form, and that's something I'm going to have to kind of learn, especially if it involves putting down a book. Number 7 is, where do you typically read? And for me, I'm usually reading at night in bed right before I go to sleep. Or I do listen to a lot of books on audio while I'm at work. So hanging out at my desk. Something I would like to do more is really enjoy my beautiful book nook and find more time on, a sunny afternoon to carve out a couple hours and just enjoy reading in this space, because it's a space that I put so much intention and care into. And I don't think I take advantage of it enough. So that's a goal for my reading spaces. Number 8 is, what kinds of books do you read? And for me, generally, that's going to be sci-fi, fantasy, and feminist nonfiction. But to get into some of those more detailed subgenres, I love mythology retellings, fairy tale retellings, and sort of epic high fantasy stories. Recently, in the last couple years, I've enjoyed murder mystery and detective stories. And a very new discovery has been really loving historical romance. And then, in the nonfiction world, I also really enjoy memoir, particularly audiobooks that are read by the author that are memoir. But what I will say is I've been reading again as an adult for about 4 years now. And I feel every year I discover some new little branch off of my interests and fall into a new subgenre that I love. Another thing I've been kind of growing my interest in knowledge and collection in is graphic novels and manga, which are so wonderful and whimsical if you know where to look. So all of that is to say, those are general characterizations, but I think we will continue to see my taste evolve the more I'm reading, because I read more every single year. And last but not least, question number 9 is, what does your bookshelf look like? And you are looking at them. This is my book nook. I have a more detailed deep dive on my book nook, its creation, some of the books on my shelves on my channel. So you can check out that video linked here. But I love my bookshelves, and I am excited to see them change and grow the longer we're in this space. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks for being here for my BookTube Newbie Tag. I hope you'll let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite reads have been recently. And if you've made a BookTube Newbie Tag, let me know. I want to watch it. I want to hear what you love about this community, so you know a little bit more about what I like about it now. Thanks for being here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.